Trump mocked and exposed on live TV over. The list. The political world was set ablaze this week after former President Donald Trump became the center of a viral media firestorm, mocked and publicly challenged on live television over what commentators are now calling simply the list. What began as a routine political discussion quickly escalated into a nationally watched moment of embarrassment, scrutiny, and renewed questions about transparency, accountability, and credibility. Across multiple networks, anchors, analysts, and even conservative commentators reacted in real time as Trump's long-standing pattern of deflection collided with a growing demand for answers. The moment unfolded during a live broadcast when a prominent news host referenced newly resurfaced records, names, and associations that critics argue Trump has spent years trying to keep out of public view. As the host calmly walked through the details, the tone in the studio shifted. Panelists exchanged glances. Social media exploded, and within minutes, clips of the segment were circulating online with millions of views, many highlighting the visible discomfort and evasive rhetoric that followed from Trump's allies attempting to defend him. The list, as it has come to be known, is not a single document, but rather a compilation of connections, statements, and documented relationships that critics say paint a troubling picture when viewed together. While Trump has repeatedly dismissed such discussions as fake news or politically motivated attacks, this time the information was presented live, sourced, and methodically laid out in a way that left little room for interruption. That, analysts say, is why the moment resonated so strongly with viewers. During the broadcast, the host emphasized that the issue was not rumor or speculation, but Trump's own past words, appearances, and documented associations. Screens behind the panel displayed dates, quotes, and video clips, creating a visual timeline that contradicted many of Trump's previous denials. The effect was striking. Rather than a shouting match or partisan argument, the segment unfolded like a courtroom presentation, calm and devastating in its simplicity. One political analyst on the panel summed it up bluntly, stating that Trump has relied for years on overwhelming the media cycle with noise, outrage, and counterattacks. But that strategy falters when confronted with quiet facts delivered in sequence. This isn't about opinion, the analyst said. It's about receipts. That line quickly became a trending phrase online, as viewers echoed the sentiment across platforms. What made the moment even more damaging for Trump was the reaction from unexpected corners. Several conservative commentators, typically quick to come to his defense, appeared noticeably restrained. One acknowledged that while Trump remains a dominant figure within the Republican Party, moments like this create serious liabilities for candidates down the ballot. Another admitted that dismissing every controversy as a hoax is becoming harder when the evidence is presented so plainly. Trump himself responded in typical fashion within hours, taking to social media to lash out at the network, the host, and what he described as a coordinated smear campaign. However, even that response drew criticism, as commentators pointed out that he did not directly address the substance of what was presented. Instead, he attacked motives, accused enemies, and repeated familiar grievances, a pattern that critics say is losing its effectiveness with a fatigued electorate. Media experts note that live television has become an increasingly risky environment for political figures, accustomed to controlling the narrative. Unlike pre-recorded interviews or friendly outlets, live broadcasts allow information to land without filtration. In this case, the host's refusal to be baited into theatrics meant the focus stayed squarely on the facts, leaving Trump's defenders scrambling. Public reaction was swift and polarized, but notably intense. Within hours, hashtags related to the list were trending nationwide. Clips of the segment were shared by journalists, academics, and political activists alike. Late-night hosts seized on the moment, replaying the footage and openly mocking Trump's long-standing habit of claiming ignorance about people he had clearly interacted with. The laughter, however, carried an undercurrent of concern about what this moment revealed regarding accountability at the highest levels of power. For voters, especially independents and moderates, the episode may serve as a reminder of the chaos and controversy that defined much of Trump's time in office. Pollsters have long warned that while Trump retains a loyal base, his unfavorable ratings among swing voters remain stubbornly high. Moments like this, analysts argue, reinforce doubts about his honesty and fitness for leadership. Legal analysts also weighed in, noting that while media exposure does not equal legal guilt, public scrutiny can shape the broader environment in which investigations and court proceedings unfold. When information becomes part of the public consciousness, it increases pressure on institutions to act transparently and consistently. In that sense, the list is less about a single broadcast and more about a cumulative reckoning that has been building for years. Perhaps most striking was the contrast between Trump's past dominance of the media cycle and the way this story unfolded. Instead of Trump driving the narrative through outrage or provocation, he was reacting, defensively, to a story he did not control. That reversal, even if temporary, signals a potential shift in how media organizations approach coverage of the former president. As one journalist noted during a follow-up segment, the lesson for the media may be that less spectacle and more documentation is the most effective way to hold powerful figures accountable. By stripping away the drama and focusing on evidence, the story spoke for itself, leaving viewers to draw their own conclusions. In the days following the broadcast, calls for greater transparency only grew louder. Advocacy groups renewed demands for full disclosures, while lawmakers were pressed by constituents to clarify their positions. Some attempted to pivot, arguing that voters care more about the economy and national security, but others acknowledged that character and credibility remain central issues in any presidential race. For Trump, the episode represents another chapter in a long-running struggle between denial and documentation. While he continues to dismiss criticism as politically motivated, the accumulation of moments like this erodes the effectiveness of that defense. Each unanswered question, each unexplained contradiction, adds weight to a narrative that is increasingly difficult to shake. As the political landscape continues to evolve, one thing is clear: live television, armed with facts and restraint, can still cut through the noise. The list may not determine the future on its own, but it has undeniably reopened conversations many believed had been buried. And for a figure as polarizing and consequential as Donald Trump, those conversations are far from over. In the end, what unfolded on live TV was more than mockery. It was a demonstration of how power can be challenged not with outrage, but with evidence. Whether voters ultimately punish or forgive remains to be seen, but the moment has already secured its place as a defining media reckoning in an era where truth, perception, and accountability are constantly in conflict.